My name is Nandini Pluri, and I am starting a new podcast series called Media Update, Media I Ate. Yes, I consume a lot of media of all kinds, and rather than just consume it and be happy in my head, I've decided to create a podcast so that I'm feeling like I'm doing something with my life instead of just watching it away. And more than that, I really want to have a discussion with people about what I watch. There aren't many people around me who are interested in the things I watch, so I feel quite lonely sometimes when I watch something amazing and I tell all my friends about it, and absolutely no one cares or responds to it. Oh, by the way, I have a cold and I'm really sorry that my voice sounds slightly more nasally than it normally does. Already it's kind of quite nasally. Sorry. So most people who know me know that I'm a crazy Korean drama addict. So it's fitting that my first Media Update, Media I Ate podcast is on K-drama. Just know that I won't be posting just on K-drama, but a lot of my stuff will be on K-drama. This will be my review of a new drama on TVN called Introverted Boss. This show is also known as Shy Boss or Sensitive Boss, so if you see it under any of those three names, we're talking about the same show. If you haven't watched Introverted Boss, or if you're debating watching it, I did a review on the first 2 episodes on my YouTube channel, which is called Third Culture Chaos / Figuring It Out Alive. And that video is called Introverted Boss, open bracket, shy / sensitive boss, close bracket, is it worth watching? What a complicated title. In that video, I give my thoughts on the drama's main characters and what I liked and disliked about the drama. About the first 2 episodes, so that you can make up your minds about watching it. So if you're wondering whether you should watch Introverted Boss, head to that video. There aren't any spoilers of the first 2 episodes in that video, which is on my channel, once again, Third Culture Chaos / Figuring It Out Alive, which I still haven't figured out how to say fast. What a shame. Okay, so this podcast is sort of a continuation of the review, except that I'm actually going to be reviewing the 3rd episode with a summary of what happened. So there will be spoilers, I guess. So if you have watched the 3rd episode, then you should be fine. But if you haven't watched the 3rd episode, watch it and then come back to this. So as I'm summarizing this episode, I will particularly be talking about the funniest bits, the most heartwarming moment for me, and a bit that I'm going to call the mystery unfolds somewhat, but it does unfold. In future episodes, I might be picking out very different moments, such as the best acted moment maybe, or the worst moment in the drama, or the saddest moment. Also, I would like to tell you about the predictions for the next episode. So that's kind of going to be the rough format of this podcast. Unfortunately, or at least very inconveniently, I've already watched the 4th episode of Introverted Boss, so I won't base my predictions on that. I actually wanted to combine the review of the 3rd and 4th episodes, but then this podcast would be way too long, so I am dividing it. Okay, let's go. Episode 3 is called I'm Not an Easygoing Person, and this is apt for the way Unangi's character develops, or at least how it's revealed to the audience in both this episode and episode 4, but I'm going to be specifically talking about episode 3. So just a really quick review of the names of the characters. Unangi is the introverted boss. He is the main character of the drama, and Cheruun, I hope I'm saying all these names right, by the way, and if I'm not, please let me know. And also let me know how I can say them correctly. Cheruun is the female lead of the drama, and Kangul is the second male lead of the drama, who is also maybe the antagonist. We're not really all that sure yet. So the second episode ended with Cheruun, who's the female lead, mistaking Unangi as a career deliverer and asked him to deliver some very expensive items for a photo shoot. So episode 2 ended on a cliffhanger in typical K-drama style, with Cheruun recklessly running towards Unangi in some park on the road in effort to get the items that were already late for the photo shoot, and a motorcycle seemed to be coming behind her, and Unangi, who's usually extremely quiet, plucked up enough courage to shout at her to move out of the way, but once again, in typical K-drama style, the lead female couldn't hear him. Well, within the first few minutes of episode 3, the situation resolves itself. It turns out the motorcycle was actually not going very fast, and nor could it have hit her. Instead, Unangi pushed Chae-roon out of the way unnecessarily, I must say, and became very awkward as he realized that his mind had exaggerated the danger, and also because he was quite embarrassed to have been shouting at her from across the road while people were watching. Another awkward thing that happens is Kang Woo-il, who's the second male lead, saw Unangi and knew that he was mistaken as a delivery guy by Chae-roon, even though he is the CEO of the company. But before anything could be made of that, Unangi bolted. He literally ran away, which was really funny. In this episode, we see the development of Silent Monster. Silent Monster is a new team, I guess, in the PR company called Brain. So Brain is a PR company where all these characters work. Unangi's penthouse on the top floor of the company's building, which is also his home, I think, is opened up and changed to a room called Silent Monster without his knowledge or consent. I think that is so rude and sad. Just because they think that he won't put up a fight doesn't mean that they get to do what they want with zero consideration. I mean, that penthouse was his home. It was like his safe haven. I feel so bad for the guy. Also, the name Silent Monster is just a jab at him. That's kind of the way the company sees him. So it's kind of funny, but it's so inconsiderate. On top of that, Kang Woo-il tries to select an elite team for Unangi, but Unangi has his mind set on a few characters. In the end, Unangi gets to pick 3 people on his team, and Kang Woo-il picks 2. Kang Woo-il's picks are actually Chae-roon and some other minor character, some guy who used to do theatrical performances with her. So they aren't very strong at the PR job, since they're basically... I mean, the guy, that's his first day, and Chae-roon has barely been in the company for more than a week or so, I think. So the funniest bits. Throughout the episode, there's a lot of overthinking and misunderstanding. There's a scene where Unangies Staff, this newly picked team for Silent Monster, is talking about how to address one another, and they try to experiment with calling everyone by their first names, which isn't something very common in I guess the Korean culture, especially if there are people with different ages and levels of experience as well. So when Unangi's old secretary calls him by his first name, just as an experiment, Unangi is taking a gulp of some coffee that they had bought for him, and he cannot bear how bitter the coffee is, and he immediately runs away from the room looking repulsed and starts overthinking, wondering what he should do about the coffee. On the other side, the staff thinks that he has lost his temper and stormed out of the room. That whole scene is just so funny. Now I'm going to move on to the most heartwarming moment. Throughout the 3rd episode, Unangi is trying to fire Chae-roon, because you can imagine how uncomfortable it must be for a guy who's as socially awkward as him and as anxious as him to have to work with a girl he's had a crush on for a long time. And in the end, rather than dealing with it in, I guess, a conventional way, he deals with it in the most beautiful way, which could only be expected from his character. It was the most lovely scene. So Unagi used to send Chae-roon flowers every day when she was an actress in a theater production, and he did this for reasons you'd know if you watch the drama, but it's kind of long to explain, so I won't do that just now. So instead of firing her, he sends her flowers, simply saying, "I'll be waiting for your return to the stage." Now, Chae-roon doesn't know that the flowers are sent by him. She has never known who the flowers were sent by, but she was always really comforted by them. That being said, isn't that like the gentlest nudge Unangi could give her to quit her job? It is so beautiful. It's so good for the feels. So good for the feels. Okay, so the mystery unfolds somewhat. This is a pretty solid episode. We see developments in the relationship between Chae-roon and Kang-ul, which gives us an insight into what may have happened to Chae-roon's sister and why she committed suicide. Halfway through episode 3, Chae-roon and Kang-ul go off in Kang-ul's car to meet a client. Unangi happens to see them in the parking lot, and we're taken to a flashback of when he saw a very similar scene of Chae-roon's sister getting in Kang-ul's car. Now, we don't know what happened clearly yet, but given how uncomfortable and sad Chae-roon's sister looked when Kang-ul was hugging her in his car, can we suspect some harassment? Sexual harassment? Blackmail? Who knows? I can't be positive yet. When the scene comes back to the present with Chae-roon driving off in Kang-ul's car, I think Unangi's expression shows clear fear. But later on, you get to see that he's not only afraid, but also frustrated and protective. Also, at the end of the episode, when Chae-roon asks Unangi who he was apologizing to, referring to the time when she met him at the rooftop, I think in the previous episode, and he was standing at the edge of the building, apologizing over and over into nothingness. There was nobody else there with him. Unangi obviously doesn't tell her anything, but we, the audience, we get to hear his thoughts. He thinks of Chae-roon's older sister and says that he was apologizing to her because, and I quote, "I wanted to keep her safe so that she doesn't get hurt. I'm sorry. There is someone else I must protect." The scene shows Kang-ul with another woman on his arm, and if I'm not wrong, I think that woman is Unangi's older sister, or just younger sister, I don't know, a relative of his. One of the few people that he's actually comfortable around, the one who cut his hair in the first or second episode. So is she who he's trying to protect? And in doing so, did Chae-roon's sister commit suicide? Or did her circumstances deteriorate really badly? I guess we'll find out soon enough. I feel like there were 2 bits of foreshadowing in this episode that we should probably, pay a little bit of attention to. So, Chae-roon says the following statement to Kang-ul when they meet on the rooftop. She says, "You shouldn't trust people that easily. You could get backstabbed, slapped, or punched in the eye." So she was alluding to the fact that she got slapped by this actor who was in this episode, but I'm wondering if that's what Chae-roon will do to Kang-ul in the future, once she realizes that he might, well, we don't know yet, but if he was responsible for her sister's death, maybe that's what she'll do to him, who knows. Also, Unangi said that he isn't an easygoing person, I think more than 2 times in this episode. And he also said, and I quote, "I always make sure to protect things that are dear to me." So I feel like Chae-roon is already dear to him, but who knows, maybe if the situation gets much, much worse, he might have to do something drastic to protect her. So I think that's another statement that we should, keep in mind as we think about the future episodes. Okay, so I didn't exactly talk about this actor who plays a big part of this episode because I don't feel like he's going to be a recurring, character in this drama. But still, I have to talk about the most shocking moment for me was when the actor didn't have only a son. The whole mystery surrounding the actor, I thought that maybe the actor didn't have only a son, maybe he had like a daughter from a different relationship or something, a secret daughter that he was trying to keep from the limelight for whatever reason. Instead, it turned out that his son had become a woman. His daughter is actually transsexual. And that was something totally unexpected for me, especially since I haven't seen anything like it in Korean dramas. So it was so cool to see that. That was really cool and unexpected. Okay, so overall this episode gets a 7 or 8 out of 10 from me. It's quite funny. The stuff and the awkwardness in the office is as funny as could be expected. I think it could have been better, but it's quite standard. And what's really funny is the misunderstanding between the characters because of lack of communication. I really like the part where Unangi told everyone to get out of his room when he was there with the actor. Unangi was so powerful and commanding. Surprisingly, it wasn't strange for me to see his character like that, because as shy and socially awkward as he is, I feel like he's also really quite confident about certain things, which we already saw in the first episode. Like, he has really good ideas, so I think he is polite, and as the title of the episode says, he's not an easygoing person. So the writers have done a very good job with keeping his character consistent, and somehow like all these traits that we see and all his behaviors somehow seem to go together quite well. Also, I have to say the actor is doing a terrific job at acting this character out, especially on this episode. So this has been a very long one. I'll try to keep future podcasts shorter. Please let me know if you think I should change the format. This has sort of been kind of all over the place, but I will try to keep them more concise and more structured in the future. Also, what would you like to hear from me? What should I include in this podcast? What should I get rid of, etc.? Also, I would love it if you could tell me what you think about the show and the episodes so far. Just please be considerate to me and others, and don't post any spoilers on future episodes. That's all I ask. Other than that, I'd love to hear anything you have to say. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel for more. And if you're listening to this on Mixcloud or Audioboom, bookmark this page for more. I'm Nandini Fleury, and it has been a pleasure for me talking about the show. Thank you for listening, and I'll post the next one up as soon as I can. This has been Media Update, Media I Ate. It's such a strange, awkward title. I might have to change it. Anyway, bye!